Welcome to episode 20 of the 15-Minute Coffee Podcast, your go-to destination for expert perspectives and valuable insights from the world of business. Today I'm here with Michael Zeck, a recruiter of entry-level hiring at IBM. Now, before we get into the questions, I would like to thank Mr. Zeck for being a guest on the podcast.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
All right, let's start with, can you share a bit about your background and journey to becoming who you are today?
Sure. So I grew up around my mother and father, and they managed the family business a lot. So I kind of knew that I wanted to get in some type of business role. I've always been interested in the human mind and how it works, and just talking to people. So I figured I'd major in college with psychology, and I had a business administration minor. Human resources seemed like a natural fit once I graduated. So out of college, I applied to a few other positions, mostly with a variety of different agency recruitment positions. So what agency recruitment is, it's like third party. It's not for a specific corporation. So it was like a third party where I would have to find positions for candidates as well as talk to companies about potential openings. So that was my first real position out of school. Full desk recruiting and behind the scenes administrative tasks were in that. I wasn't really in the job market, and in 2018, IBM actually reached out to me through LinkedIn requesting an interview. So I saw that message and I was like, yes, absolutely. I will just talk to these people. I haven't been really interviewing a lot. So I felt like this was going to be great practice for me. So I took the interviews, went through 2 rounds of interviews, real simple, easy, talking to several different people. During those, like a couple of them were, like 1 or 2 people on the panel. So I talked with them, totally not expecting to land this position. Um, Within like 2 weeks after that last interview, they offered me the position and I gladly accepted. So eventually I was offered that coordinator role that I held for the first year and a half at IBM. But within the first 6 months after joining in 2019, there was a manager came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in joining federal consulting. So I've been within the federal consulting practice of IBM for since August of 2019. And a couple of different roles. So just the coordinator role, again, behind the scenes, kind of doing administrative tasks, helping candidates go through the interview process as well as onboarding within IBM. And then during the pandemic, kind of learned more skills, kind of developed what it is to be a recruiter at IBM. So kind of took courses there, and as well as just learning from recruiters that have been with IBM. So I noticed that there was more opportunity for advancement within, and I took the federal consulting recruiter role in August of 2021, and I've been in this position since then. So a little over almost 3 years now, coming up on 3 years. Absolutely love it. Don't see myself really leaving IBM ever, just because it's a great company to work for. So that kind of goes into your next question.
I mean, yeah, that's an amazing story how it kind of led from you not really even knowing like that you wanted to work here to not ever wanting to leave because that's just it's actually a common theme I hear with my podcast guests is the way that they got their job or their role that they're now in, they would have never thought 2 minutes before it happened that they would have ever got it. It just happened like that and it turned out for the best. So that's a great point you make.
No, I wasn't even looking, and they messaged me on LinkedIn. And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, I'll take this opportunity to interview with you all." Totally not expecting the position. Obviously, people have heard of IBM. I've heard of IBM before. I was like, "Yeah, I'll definitely interview and see what I can get into, or even just use it as great practice."
Yeah. And then this does go into the next question of what is the best part of working at IBM and what learning experiences taught you a life-changing lesson.
Yeah, I absolutely love this question. So there are many different things I could have chose for why I like working at IBM and what ultimately led me to take this position and stay here. 100% it's the people, my colleagues that I work with. We are such an adaptable and very successful team, and that has shown through a lot of different process changes, structure changes, out of work changes, just like real life, like the pandemic we went through. So a lot of my core team stuck with IBM through the pandemic, and it just became more adaptable and flexible. Working remotely definitely taught me to be more patient and to have more intentional with verbal and nonverbal communication cues. Ultimately, like when you do virtual meetings and you have discussions such as this, not always do you get that real life like you don't get to see behind the scenes. You don't get to see what actually people mean. So kind of like learning from different verbal cues and nonverbal cues. So it wasn't always easy to understand what people meant through virtual meetings and being able to relay exactly what you mean, which is very crucial working with the federal government, confidentiality, security. You have to be very detailed and kind of it's very specific when you say things working with the federal government. So you learned how to adapt and be flexible to ever changing environments. Um, just the nature of the business that I'm in. So you got to be adaptable and kind of get to see different experiences throughout to learn.
Yeah, I mean, even as a student in high school, so the pandemic started like around beginning of my ninth grade year in high school, and like you highlighted the point how you learned a lot of skills from online, and I'd like to really highlight that point because it changes you a lot. Like it's a whole different way of learning. It's you learn things that you just never thought you would have learned by having the interactions with online. But that was a great point.
It was a weird time. We I remember in March of 2020, we just totally everyone left the office, and I remember we had to sign up to eventually come back into the office to get our stuff because we never knew if we were going to go back into the office. So I had to do a very specific date and time that I was going to be in the office. No one was in. It was deserted. And it's just crazy. This was in 2021 or 2022. So even that's like 2 years, it's totally changed. I'm in the office today, and there's so many people here. The return to office it's been a challenge. I live about an hour away from my office, so the commute to get in is not always fun in the mornings and afternoons. But you make changes, and luckily IBM is flexible and adaptable enough where I can kind of make my own schedule during core hours. So I have to be in the office before 10 and then after 3, which is awesome. You miss the commute, you miss the traffic and everything. So it's just again being adaptable and flexible.
Yeah. And that goes into the question of what is the most important skill for a recruiter to have?
Very good at answering your next question before you even answer it. So kind of jumping back to the last question, being intentional and maintaining communication with candidates also is something that's very important for recruiters to have. We have a negative stigma about us that once somebody applies for a position, their resume kind of gets lost in cyberspace, um, and then they aren't provided updates throughout the entirety of the process. I try to be the most accessible recruiter I can be, almost too accessible at times. I'm known for answering phone calls and emails when I'm on vacation. My wife doesn't really like that all the time, but from my perspective, I like getting to know people and ultimately whatever I can do to help them come to IBM and make their decision of changing positions or their first position out of college. It's a very important step in somebody's life. So switching jobs, careers, they may have life altering questions that I need to answer, and if it doesn't get answered, then we potentially could lose great talent. So I like to do that. That's something I'm working on, is becoming a little bit less accessible, but also accessible when needed. During work hours only, during Mondays through Fridays, not so much on the weekend. That's something I learned again in the last couple years is, be with your family first and foremost. Those are the most important things. The most important people in your lives spend time with.
That definitely is a good point because even like at a young age, I'm dedicating Sundays for family time. It's like it's the day where everyone's off from work. It's the day where our whole family gets together. It's just like a time that, and as silly as it sounds, because I'm not doing a full-time job right now. I work part-time, but it's definitely something that helps in in your actual life, having some time with family because it lets you like de-stress with everything. But that's something that I also highly value, spending time
Yeah,
with family. And then, how does regularly discovering new talent as a recruiter influence your perspective on life?
good question. I really thought about this one actually. The biggest thing that came to my mind is that there's a whole world out there. I talked to a lot of different people from a lot of different life backgrounds, and being able to just get to know them on a personal level is extremely fulfilling. You get to learn about things in life, what matters in life, kind of what we just talked about. You get to learn about things in life and what actually matters, what you hold most important. I work with specifically recruiting candidates for the U.S. federal positions. So it's limited to just the United States, but even just those talking to candidates around the United States is extremely different. You're going to talk to somebody from New York, California, even sometimes in like Alabama. I have positions in Texas. So it's different life perspectives. And it's just that there's more than just, I don't want to say there's more than just a 9 to 5, but life is meant to live. Um, yeah, so recently I've started working more with colleagues outside the United States as well. So being exposed to different cultures and learning about different holidays that are celebrated definitely influences my perspective on life too. Is like everyone's different, everyone has something different. So learning more about each other can bring us together more. So that's something that's definitely, even before the pandemic, I'm just learning more. That's kind of like when you go into college, you kind of meet a lot of different people. So like expanding on that and growing once you graduate, networking is always something that's awesome. So that's that.
Yeah, so like another point I was told that by numerous people is create a global network. And like but what I mean by that is yes, it's great to know people where you want to be. Like if you want to work in New York and you're set on working in New York, it's great to know people in New York, but it's never gonna hurt and it's only gonna help if you know people from, as crazy it may sound, like other side of the world. Like if you know someone from Russia, China, and that's just example, people from Europe. And it's just they said it's been the most helpful thing. And when they need when they also talk about it as a strange topic because it's strange to try to connect with people from other places where you've never even probably been, but they say it's one of the most helpful things.
No, it's just learning different cultures and perspectives on life will make you not only like a professional, well-rounded professional, but well-rounded person, being acceptable to others and everything. That's something that I'm passionate about.
And then throughout your career, what advice has had the most profound impact on you?
This is another good question. You're asking some really good ones. So
Thank you.
throughout my career, my 10 plus years in being recruitment, I've encountered thousands of people and received like tens of thousands of different advice. So I'd say uh, the most profound impact on me piece of advice is to take calculated risks. Some people will say just take risk in general, but for me personally, this one stuck home because I like being a planner. People in my life plan a lot, so I kind of gravitate towards that. But if there's something you want to do, learn and calculate all the possible outcomes of the situation, both positive and negative. Make the best decision you can given all that information. Take a calculated risk. A calculated risk would be like if you want to change careers, something totally different. Go ahead and weigh the positives and negatives, write them down, make a Venn diagram, whatever you need to visualize pluses and the negatives. Don't always think of the negatives as negatives. Think of them as opportunities for you to learn and develop on what you need to better yourself professionally and personally. So just take that risk. If you want to change completely careers, if you're in the middle of your school, if you're an older, if you have more experience and you want to go back to school, take that risk. I mean, it's always something to benefit yourself and benefit those around you.
Yeah, I definitely love the fact that you said calculated risk over risk because I'm I'm one that's very strong on calculated risk. So like it's also about taking opportunities. So calculated risk, I feel like it goes hand in hand with taking opportunities when they're thrown at you. So for example, like I was offered yesterday morning to do a presentation at Princeton University for some middle schoolers. Out being one of three panelists, representing Rod Cologne. He's somewhat my mentor, and he has his own consulting firm, and it's through the organization HISPA. And I'm like, okay, it sounds great. I would love to. I'm just gonna prepare, take the calculated risk, and it's a great opportunity. So
Have you ever
yeah,
done something
that's
like that? Like present?
never, never. And it's gonna be a few hundred
Yeah.
people from what I've seen from pictures last year. I've never spoken in front of more than at least a few tens of people that I
That'd
know.
be a
All
great
that I know.
experience for you.
All right, and then this goes with the last question of how do you approach learning new things?
So another great thing about IBM is that we have a strong focus on learning and development. Nobody here expects you to know everything about everything. Everybody here does expect you to always try to learn something new. So personally, I approach learning new things by understanding that my goals and how to accomplish them. So I just go back to the planning stages, kind of plan how I'm going to get there and where to go. So that's how I kind of like learn on what I need to improve on. It's just again, just take a step back and kind of map out my road there. I try to see what trends are happening currently in my field and just research online about them. Um, we live in a day and age where you can just Google search anything, or you can kind of just search anything and it kind of come up and you'll be able to learn. IBM does have a great platform that is totally free for anybody. So I like to do like a little bit of a shameless plug here. So anybody who is interested, IBM Skills Build is a free online platform. Lots of different skill courses, mostly technical. IBM is a technical company, so there's like cloud computing courses, artificial intelligence. I recently just took a artificial intelligence position, or not position, a course rather, and I highly recommend that you look into it because of the variety of different things that are essential in today's society. So AI is a hot topic. I know I need to prepare myself just to better augment my own life. I look at it as an opportunity for me to use it as a tool rather than a replacement. That's what everyone fears, is like AI will replace my job. Not if you use it the correct way. If you use it to supplement yourself, learn your skills, and use it as to benefit yourself, then you'll be able to, get better and grow. So I'll be able to understand it better, be able to speak about it, and be able to use it to better myself. So that is something that I approach is kind of, again, more of a step-by-step approach and kind of figure out what I need to improve on. And that's what I kind of focus the way my career has been going.
Yeah, and definitely just highlighting the fact of learning continuously. I think like it's a misconception that you could just go on in life and not learn continuously. And it's obviously possible, but I don't think that it's even like fair practice to go on in life and not try to learn, try to keep up with what's going on, because AI, likewise to the internet and how phones started, how everything any new innovation started, it's something that we're just gonna have to adapt to, and we're already starting to somewhat adapt to it. It might be pose a different challenge, a much harder challenge, but I think it's gonna be beneficial in many ways that could help like future society, especially in medicine, technology, like just automating things. Automating things are actually the lowest thing it could probably do, because when it comes to saving lives and having I mean that's irreplaceable.
The key is just to understand it and how to use it for good,
Yeah.
obviously. But as long as you understand it and what it can and can't do and how you ultimately control it, I mean, obviously, you need to start with the humans. So you need to be able to understand like how you impact it, how it goes forward. So
All right. And as that wraps up, thank you for sharing your valuable insights and expertise with us. That wraps up episode 20 of the 15-Minute Coffee Podcast with Brandon Salazar. We hope you've enjoyed gaining insights from our guests and exploring the world of business with us. Don't forget to check out our podcast on the social media at the 15-Minute Coffee Podcast on YouTube and Instagram for upcoming episodes. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.